Hello and greetings, everybody, and welcome here on the first day of daylight savings time here in North America, the only place that still does that. Lord knows why we do, but we do. Anyways, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, the show we're doing now is this week, which is an episode that I do every Friday at around noontime, basically just talking about what is coming up on the channel, usually mostly for the week, sometimes for the future as well, and sometimes I do address if there's been a particular thing that needs to be addressed that I have done, I will address that as well. There's nothing of that nature this week. Basically, the only thing is a tiny thing is I changed the launching of the metal series for Friday night at 11 to the following Friday, so it'll come out next week. I didn't give myself really, when I think about it, I didn't give myself enough time to prep it, and because of the low lighting situation brought on, because I've been doing my videos after work, has left a bit of a darkening of the screen, which I don't really like. So I'm going to attempt to do these things before I go to work, because I'll get up at the same time, and it's a lot lighter at that time than it was. Try to get that out of the way before I go to work, which would be easier to view and easier on myself. So metal will come out this Friday at 11 o'clock. If I don't like that time frame, and I'm thinking that it might be a little bit busy at that point in time, that I may save it and do it on the Saturday night at 11. So that's at least a possibility. I don't generally like to do things on Saturday. I have other commitments, and also that's my day of prep for the show. So I try to not do anything other than what I'm doing the prep wise on that day. But I may go to that. We will see. Anyways, having said that, that's part of the past. Now the future, which is this week, we'll talk about this week first, and then I'll get into other areas as well. So the first episode, which is this one, which talks about the stuff that's going on the channel for the week, we're doing now. And then the next show that usually comes out is either Ben's Album Challenge or the Great Album Challenge. This week it's the Great Album Challenge's turn. We're doing the year 1972. I've listened to everything. Most of the albums I was very familiar with anyways, and I've already ranked them, and so that'll be coming out tonight at 8 o'clock. The next show that usually comes out is a Monday night. A look back at a classic rock album. I've chosen an album that actually, if you've been watching, if you watched the episode earlier this morning, you will see some of this as well. So we're going to do an album that has had its history with me, but its recent history has been much better, and so I want to give it its due course, and that's this album, Pink Floyd's The Wall. So that will be my classic album for tonight. Classic look back at a Monday night's classic look back at a rock album, which will feature Pink Floyd's The Wall. The next show up is usually Tuesday. Tuesday's What's New is the episode. Now, I had planned to do the Rolling Stones Hackney Diamonds, but I had planned to purchase it at my store yesterday, but construction derailed that because I got to the ramp I was supposed to go off and it was closed, so I had to detour, and that took an extra 45 minutes, so the store was closed. I didn't get a chance to go. So I'm going to see if I can acquire this album via one of the local sources here and use it for the show on Tuesday night. If I can't acquire the album, I may put it off for another week, but chances are not good for that. I would like to get it done. It's an excellent album, and I think it needs to be reviewed fairly quickly. The next show up is Favorites. My Wednesday night, we usually have the show called Favorites. This week I've decided to do, I'm just going to put my book up here. I've decided to do the 25 favorite albums that came out since the year 2000. So basically anything released this century is up for games, except there won't be anything from 2023, as I will be doing a top 10 favorite list for them at the end of the year for what's new. And so that 23 is already kind of taken care of by that. So we'll just be looking basically from the beginning of the century till last year, 2022, and putting together my 25 favorite albums from that time period. So the next one up, of course, is Forward Champion. I haven't looked at the results of the current one, but the next challenger will be this album here, Hawkwind's Hall of the Mountain Grill. I like this album quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to see how it does in its challenge to become the champion. Next show up on the agenda comes out on Friday, which is Monster Hits. This seems to be fairly popular with people who just like to talk about those songs, especially this time period, like between the late 70s and mid to late 80s. A lot of people, myself included, say, oh wow, I forgot about that song, or wow, I haven't listened to that song for years. Yeah, so that's part of it. Try to give it a little bit of an awakening for those songs that had a huge impact when they came out, but have since kind of drifted in our memories. That usually happens more often with songs than it does with albums, because songs, are small time capsules of a group's history, and some of them continue, some of them get a lot of airplay, but a lot of them have their day and the sun, and then they fade into darkness. Next up is Metal, of course, which I've tentatively scheduled to put out on Friday night at 11. The group we'll be doing this week will be called Diamond Head. Some of you, most of you are probably familiar with them. I did do a Ben's album challenge, I believe, or it might have been Battle of the Bands. I think it was the Hard Rock Battle of the Bands, Diamond Head one that he gave me, which kind of initiated me to the band. So I'm now going to explore them much further in depth here with Metal. Okay, so what else is coming up? Well, our series is continuing, as many of you know. If you've had a chance, you could have watched the one this morning, which should be out, was out at 8 o'clock, and then there'll be one each morning at 8 o'clock through the whole week, 7 episodes in all bands that I like quite a bit, and some of the episodes were a little bit lengthier than some of the predecessors, because as we go along, I'm much more familiar as we get closer to the top with the bands, because I've listened to them a lot more. So anyways, I hope that you'll join us for that. As for the future, what does the future hold? So this week I had to go out of town, as I've already alluded to, so I did not do my live stream. That weather holding and enough sunlight during the day, we will be doing one this week coming, which will be the topic. For some reason I forgot to write it down, and I can't remember it right at the moment. So there will be a topic. I'll try to announce it on one of the other shows during the week, what the topic will be. But we'll be doing another live stream on some specific topic, some progressive topic. Last one we did was on Yes. I thought it was okay. It was fairly well received. I'd like to do more of that. It's not going to be something that's a regular show. It may be a monthly show, like maybe once a month I'll do this. And as I get more and more into doing live stuff, I will probably increase the points between, if I can. Other upcoming series, there will be one in December. That's an affirmative. Ben has put together the 2022 combatants and their battles. So this one will be those solo progressive rock artists who came from bands. So they're basically they started out in a big band, and they've either gone solo or have done solo stuff, and so we're going to have a battle of those bands coming. I've seen the list. It's funny. There's a there's a lot of really good stuff here, and then there's a lot of stuff I absolutely can't stand. So I'm wondering how this is going to work. But you know what? This may be a chance for me to change my opinions about some bands, and I've already done that with the Pink Floyd album, and there may be a few others that I need to give a real serious listen to. So if nothing else, it'll get me listening to stuff that probably wouldn't have without this kind of a challenge. So that series will come up in December. The other series, there are a couple mini series that will come out, but I will probably hold off on them until January after the holidays. So the month of January will likely not have a monthly series, but 2 or 3 of these mini series. I've got 3 in mind, and I think all 3 of them will be interest to people who watch this channel. So we will get into them as we get closer. I'll talk a little bit more about them. I can tell you that one of the series will be on, just to give you a hint of what I've decided. I've gone through the list of progressive rock bands over the history of progressive rock, and there's a upper echelon group of rock bands that, you know, we could say made it. That's a term you could use. They made it. They became well-known house names. They sold lots of records. They toured. They're considered to be the best bands in the history of progressive rock. But there's that group that just falls just underneath that for whatever reason, they didn't quite make that jump over the line and become those household names. Now, I will say this. These bands are very well known and very popular on the prog community that's on YouTube. They're talked about regularly here as being equal to those upper echelon bands. And so I've chosen 6 bands to put in this list, and I think this will generate a lot of interest in these bands. I personally think these bands are as good as the upper echelon bands, but for whatever reason, they didn't quite get past that line. I think mostly because they weren't as commercial. They didn't have quite that commercial element that put them into the mainstream thoughts. And to be honest, I like that about them. That's what makes them so good. The upper echelon bands are great too, but these bands didn't quite go to that commercial part, and so they didn't quite make that jump. But their music is no less good. So I've got 6 of them. I think that'll be a good mini-series. That'll probably be the first one I do in January. And then I've got a couple others that I have in mind as well. So I think that's it. I cannot think of anything that I did not say, other than there may be the odd one-off show like I did last week. I did the What's the Difference with the Pink Floyd albums. I may do something like that if time permitting, but the one-off shows are basically if time's permitting. I don't do them otherwise because you simply don't have the time to do. You know, in this case, we've got 15 videos that will be done this week. That's a lot when you consider the amount of time that you have to spend in it. And if I wasn't working, it wouldn't be an issue. But at this stage, I'm still working, and that's probably going to continue until they throw dirt on my face, or possibly, hopefully, less than that. Anyways, this channel is fun for me to do. I enjoy it. I've got to know a lot of people who are interested in the same things as I am. It's revitalized my interest in progressive rock to the point where I'm just doing that mostly all the time, and I really enjoy some of the other YouTube sites that are out here that really have expanded my horizon, and really we're keeping rock music alive by doing this. And not just keeping it alive, but I think we're expanding it. I think people are starting to see that there are lots of new stuff out there. Prog music isn't dead, didn't die in the 70s, as people will say it did. There are other expansions of this music. There are probably more prog bands now than there has ever been. and a lot of them are making fantastic music. And so I want to really continue with this because, Rush, yes, Genesis, Pink Floyd, for the most part, they're all gone now, except for Yes is still kind of hanging in there. But it won't be long before all of those people that initiated this form of music will be no longer with us, and we got to find something else to do, right? And what better thing to do than give these new bands a chance, And many of them are really good, I think. So anyways, having said all that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe. It's much appreciated. You can hit the bell. It'll tell you when my content's coming out so that you don't miss anything. And on top of that, what, Gary? You forgot, didn't you? Yeah, that happens. I forget where I'm going with some of this stuff. But the most important thing is that if you have any comments about anything I've said, or anything that you want to bring up, or any ideas that you have, or any questions, or your experience with this or anything I've said, you can put all that in the comment section below. I try my best to answer everything. Sometimes people will ask me questions about a video I made a year ago as if I just made it, and I don't have time to go back and watch every video I've made to see what it is exactly I said. So sometimes I can't answer those questions because I just don't have time to do it. But other than that, I try to answer everything. Anyways, I hope that you have a good day. Please have a great day and enjoy the rest of your day and evening. We will see you next Sunday on This Week. Take care. Bye.